Hello Flosstube, my name is Laura and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. If you are new, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play. I hope you like what you see. I would love to know what you like to stitch, and if you could hit like and subscribe, if you were so inclined, that would be awesome. And if you're a returning stitching friend, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate each and every one of you who takes the time to come and watch my videos. I just love cross stitch and I love being able to talk about it with you. So I was all excited I was gonna come. I had plans of having a full finish for you. I was going to do it after dinner last night, but then it was so nice and beautiful that Mo and I went down to the beach instead. So you don't get the finish this week. We'll have to see if I do it next week, and then I can show it to you in next week's video. Fingers crossed. All right, so that means we're just going to get right into stitching instead. So I have 12 projects to show you of a cross stitch that I did before we get into any of the other stuff. I have a start and a finish, little tiny piece. I have a finish and I have a start of a different piece. So, and then from there, we just did a bunch of other of my projects. I don't have any routine or wheel or whatever that I use. I do challenges and games for cross stitch, but I don't set myself limits in those at the beginning of the month. I pretty much say, okay, I feel like stitching on this. Does it work for a prompt? And it's amazing. Generally, most things you can end up figuring out something, or if something works for a prompt, and I'll be like, yeah, I really do want to stitch on that. So it seems to work out well. I don't give myself rules and I just kind of go with the flow and I love it. All right, so very first project, let me show you the original. It is a digital, so I will show you on my iPad. It's older, so I have to scroll back up. There we go. So this one is the piece that I do every 4 weeks. I try to get 500 stitches in, and this is Spring Quaker. Oh, you're starting to see my window back there. And that is from Lila Studio. If you're new, you know I have both spring and, or would not know, I have both spring and summer on the go. Now, summer I've kept pretty much called for. I don't think I changed any colors. Spring, I have done a complete overhaul on the colors. I loved the pattern, but it was too brown for me. Spring to me just means just all the trees are blooming and the flowers are here and everything just looks so vibrant and colorful. So I did change the color scheme. Now I put it on the board just to show you in full, and then I'll take it off to show you closer up what I did. So here we go. This is still the sticky board. I do want to go and get a piece from Michael's, because if at some point if I use this, I won't have the board anymore. So that's it in the entirety. This is 18 count. It's called Rose Hips, and it's from Under the Sea Fabrics. And I'll show you in just a second, but 98% of the outer border is finished, which means now we're just focusing on the center border. And I have to say, I really do think that between summer and spring, this one's gonna get finished first. The summer center border is really full coverage. This one, the bottom of the basket is full coveragey, but the rest of it's not too bad. So if let's see here. If I go like this, it's kind of in the middle-y section. I think last time you saw it, this was completely done, but I still had this little flower to do. So I did do that. Now, right here in the original is a little box that you can put your initials in. I don't really want to do that. I have enough letters on here. So putting another set there is just not my thing. I have two choices I was thinking about. I was thinking of doing a heart there because we already have kind of this element and this design. So I have two options. I either can do that heart in that color, or if you go over here, do you see this little heart here? So I have to decide if I want to introduce that pink in here, or if I just want to keep it all of the, it's one of the greens. I don't remember if it's 500 or which one it is, but So that might be something I wait kind of near the end to see. There is some color already over there. And because that other flower is a different pink, I don't know if I want to add that pink again. There's there's two of those other green hearts in the pattern. So we'll see. I did that, and then I completed the arms of the basket, which again, I did change those browns because once you change one thing, sometimes it's a domino, sometimes you can get away with it, but I just wasn't feeling the colors that were called for because I had every intention of using them. And so I just changed it slightly. And so I got that done, and then I went all the way across because I was curious, did I have it right? And I do, luckily. And I had a little extra on my needle, so I did finish up. I did start, I can't remember if that is, that might be as far down as the basket goes. Let me see, 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Yes, that is as far as the basket goes. And then they'll be writing under here. Well, no, there's a like kind of 2-line bottom row. So I may end up kind of doing that part, doing the writing, and then this is just changing the 2 different colors. I did have a little bit of green left over, so I did start one of the trees. So that whole section, you know, that middle section is beautiful. And that was the first thing that caught my eye when I saw this pattern. In fact, when I originally saw it, I almost thought about just stitching that. But then once I saw summer as well. So there we go. That's it. One more time. And autumn and winter, you know, they're out. I think if at some point I would like to stitch them all. I think I would do winter next. I really do like the winter one. Not that I don't like the fall one, but I like the winter one better. So we'll see. But not anytime soon. I have to have at least one finished, possibly both, before I jump in. And I may do that. I may finish spring and summer before I say, okay, I'm ready for the next ones. All right, so that was my big project of the week. Normally now, it might be, let me see, it might be fish and ships that was supposed to be next. Let me see on my rotation here. Yes, so after spring Quaker, fish and ships is supposed to be next, which obviously got finished. So that is now out of the rotation. I thought about it a lot this week, you know, on and off. You know how you kind of, you're stitching and you're like, okay, how do I want to do rotations and stuff? I have 2 really big ones that I've been using for the focus event for Whip Warriors, Black Roses and Cinderella. And I debated on sliding one of those in, and I may still, but I kind of like them as using them for the focus events. And I rotate every other month on that. And I don't want to burn out. So I'll have to see what I might do this month. Today is the 13th. So that would mean some Halloween stitching. What I might do is my second oldest piece is a Halloween piece. So I may pull that one out and try to get 500 stitches on that this week, not today, because that's too much on a Friday, especially. By the time I get stitching on a Friday, it's not usually until the afternoon. It's all the filming stuff in the morning first. So I'm thinking that's what I might do. Gives me more time to think about how I want to tackle that. And then I'll just jump to Summer Quaker next week kind of thing after I do this one. So, all right, moving on. Speaking of Cinderella, let me show you that one next. That is a pattern by Lina Ova. This is what it will look like. And I am stitching, in this case, I am stitching the entire piece. Mary Poppins, I've pulled out, I took out the border. Then there's a few other pieces. I have a few other Lina Ovas, but I might only stitch parts of them. So they're really great for that kind of thing. Because, you know, there's the different boxes and the different things to do. So it's kind of neat to make it your own. Okay, so this is what I have. I love this blue. I have no clue no name on it whatsoever. I think it might be dying for, not to die for, dying for cross stitch, Kathy. I'm not 100% sure though, because I don't have a label or anything on it. And I probably got it several years ago. This is 18 count though, whatever it is. Focus event is part of Whip Warriors, which is a currently closed group. It'll open at the end of November. It is a participation required challenge group. And I really like the focus event. It's started on Thursday, 4 p.m. my time, and then it ended on Monday, 4 p.m. my time. In fact, I finished up what I was going to do on Sunday. I didn't carry it over to Monday. Just took my picture, put it on the event, and called it quits. I did get 1,000 stitches on it, so I'm super excited about that. And I did every single section. So if we start over here, I did bring down the inside here, the floral border a bit more. Then if you'll notice over here, I did do the entire word dream. So now I have a dream. And then I felt like I wanted to do a little bit more on this side. I think I had the top border only going to about here. So I got that completely done and worked my way here. I had originally done both sides because, as you can see, really, really tight margins, which is fine. I mean, I would probably find like a really easy way if this, once it gets finished, I would kind of, I was on a Zoom because I was talking about fish and chips. You know, I'm really concerned about the border, trying to frame that. And there was some sort of like poster something or other that my stitchy friends talked about as a possibility. I'll just move this over here in order to finish that without framing it. And I thought that was kind of cool. And so that might work for some of my bigger pieces if I don't want to frame them. I'll have to explore it more. I really don't know enough about it yet, but that's a thought. So in that case, I really wouldn't need much border. I was thinking, you know, I think there's the tape, right? We talked about that too. There's a tape where you can fold over the edge. If I could get a nice crisp edge, then I could just have those edges neat, and then it really wouldn't matter what the border was. I'm using, what am I using? Let me see here. Just I'm not going to use the word just because DMC is fabulous. I'm using DMC 3325. I get asked many times, almost every video, what this is. So if you are new, these are my DMC holders. And if you go to my playlists, I don't have much in it because I haven't organized the room to my liking, but this is one thing I have done. And I did a video about it, what they are, where to find them, how I set it all up and all of that. So if you're interested, but most of you know my love for DMC. I really do enjoy using it. Having said that, I did play around with, actually, I don't know, the variegated I used was DMC mostly. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it was all DMC this week. But I have been playing around a little bit with variegateds. But that's what it looks like. So that got its 1,000. Next month now in July, we will pull out Black Roses for the focus event. And I do try to get 1,000 in it. If I was having a really good stitchy weekend, 1,500 possibly. You get credits on the 500s up to 1,500. So I stop at either somewhere around 1,000 or 1,500 usually. Plus, you know, I mean, that's a lot of stitching right there anyway. Okay, this next piece I'm not going to show you because it was just a little piece out of a bigger pattern. Okay, let's reset here. You know how sometimes you know what you want to say and words start coming out of your mouth, but your brain has got sentences going in other directions. And so sometimes you just need to reset the entire thing. So that's what we're doing. If you were new, you wouldn't know this, but I run artist trading card swaps 3 times a year. Yeah. And if you don't know what an artist trading card is, I have a full playlist. It's a lot of fun and people are so creative. I love it. However, right now, let's move on from there. we are currently in the creation stage for the newest swap, and you have until, I said July 1st, the first week of July is fine, to ship it out to me, and then I will do all of the stuff, put Mo to work, and he'll help me separate them all, and then we'll get them out to you. And we have a better plan this year, so hopefully that means I won't kill my back and get them out to you faster. But anyway, so the theme for this go around is 2 of the 4 elements of nature, right? So we have air and we have water are 2 of our 4 elements. And so those 2 are what the theme is. And then you take either of those words and go with whatever, you know, helps your creative brain. Now, I've only done the stitching part. I haven't done the finishing part. I have an idea. I do not know if it'll work. That happens a lot. I get these thoughts in my brains, whether it's color schemes or finishing. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and we just kind of move on if they don't work. But this time around, I used the word air, and I did the hot air balloon from Black Vintage Sampler. And I stitched that one up, and I got it as a start and a finish. Now, I am going to give a shout out to Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, for the inspiration color-wise. Now, Beth is not using this color here on her Black Vintage Sampler, which she's currently stitching. Let me just write down Beth's name so I know to link her. But she's using a variegated color that kind of is reminiscent of these shades. I used, it's DMC. It's a variegated DMC 4240. So that's the one I used. And you can see it's got the purples and the blues. It's really quite lovely. So Beth is not using that DMC. She is using, I think it's a silk, right, Beth? But it's beautiful, and it gave me that inspiration, like, oh, I like that color scheme. This is a scrap of blue 18 count. As I start to cut things down, I throw them in my scrap pile, and I love going through that first for my trading cards. If I absolutely want a specific color, then I'll go into my regular, but you know, sections of fabric. But why not use my scraps? I mean, this is a 2.5 by 3.5. Now, I did play around with this, and I very often when I do variegated flosses now, I don't usually try for max variegation in doing all of the tricks for that. This time around, I did. Every single X is crossed on its own. I pulled out the 2 strands and, you know, lined everything up, all that stuff. Just to, you know, I didn't really care where the color changes were, and I just thought it would be really fun. And so that's what it looks like. And that's a DMC 4240. Isn't it pretty? So I have this one stitched. Now I have to see if my vision for fully finishing it will work. But that's for a later Laura event project, not for now. But so that is my very first one. I try to do at least 2 in each swap. So I've done air. I would like to, and I have a few ideas for water. So we will see if any of those come together. And if you would like to participate, we would love to have you. I think for the most part, everybody has had fun. And I will say it again, just make sure everything is safely packaged. And I'll bring that up in a minute because I just want to show you something when we get to Happy Mail. Okay. Moving on, I started this one not this past week, but the week before. And I decided I wanted to give it another week. And I don't know, that might be something I do. I'm thinking about it just to get solid footholds on my starts and not just have, you know, 10 stitches for a start. We kind of always joke, Sandy from Stitching with Sandy had always tried to do 200 stitches as a start. And so we joke with Sandy now on her Zooms. Sandy has a Zoom twice a month. Sandy is at the 2nd and 4th Sundays. Everybody is always welcome to her Zooms. But we joke with her now when we start something like, oh, we've got our 200 stitches. And I had that plus more, but I thought I wanted to get a little bit more of a foothold on the start of this. And I'm thinking going forward, maybe I start something and then the following week I give it a little bit more time. Maybe not a ton, but a little bit more just to get a good foothold. This actually, though, I think I did at least another 400 stitches on this one this week, just to kind of get it at a good point, a good stopping point. And then once I want to pull it out, it's all set to go. So this is Forest Goddess. It's from Quaternian Creations. And here we go. Okay, I just did the one color. Oh, itchy nose. I've Flosstube itchy nose, right? Still working on that one color. But I'm actually kind of really enjoying it. This is not the full length. It probably goes down a little bit more here. So I've got to finish that, come down in that section, and then I have to come down here and it kind of branches out about halfway down. Really kind of neat. So I have plenty more of that yet to do. Not plenty, but I think the next time I pick this up, I could get that finished and then maybe start some of the leaves. I think it'd be a lot of fun to get that outer section done and then really do her, the wolf, and the owl in the center. I think that's what I'll really enjoy. And I'm using the called for. I pulled out all the called for. I believe it's all just DMCs. Yeah, it's all DMCs. And I did a floss toss on here. I think it'll work nicely. This is 18 count Crypt cloth from Lapin Loops. And I mentioned last week, it's the first time I'm using Lapin Loops. I stitch in hand, and I'm giving it another thumbs up. Last week I had, and after stitching with it again, the feel of it and doing the stitching, it's that beautiful mixture of soft and not, the super stiff Aida, but also the keeps its shape. And so it's not like that where you pull the tiniest bit and then that square is completely out of shape. This is just, it works really nicely for both of them. So I think I'm gonna have to try some more Lapin Loops. I looked online, she has some blues. So you know me and my blue fabric, but that's what it looks like right now. This will probably go away right now. It'd be awesome if I could get a Q on one of my, I don't know if categories they've called Q yet for Whip Warriors, because how many things do I have a Q for? This will come out. I think this will be fun to use for challenges and things like that, with the different animals. You've got W and O and, F and G for Forest and Goddess. So there's lots of different options there, and I could see it coming out multiple times just for fun with challenges. This next piece you haven't seen in a little while, and it's funny because each week I've kind of been drawn to it, but then I just pick something else instead for whatever reason. I think it's just there's a decent amount of color changes on this, and I've made some changes myself on it, and I don't know. I think I just, for whatever reason, I want to stitch it and then something else just comes along instead. This is Dandelions, and it's from Owl Forest Embroidery. And now this is stitched with their flosses. Owl Forest, I have not used their flosses. I just either, some of the stuff is monochromatic, or I pick my own. Their DMC alternatives are sometimes helpful, but I will find that because their flosses are so highly variegated, they don't always choose the right version of the variegation, and it just doesn't always look right. So changes sometimes need to be made, and that's okay. You just kind of go on a variation, and sometimes it's trial and error. Now, this has been a long process with this piece because I couldn't decide on my fabric. I finally, on the third try, went with this one. It's 18 count Twilight Mist from To Die For Fabrics. And the yellow and the white are the same. The greens might be the same, but I know this little section is different. These purples are all different wherever you see the purples. And while I will repeat this color here, there's also a center segment here, which I'm not going to do on that color. I'm going to use the darker purple that I chose. I think that will set off the yellow and the white kind of dandelion flowers better in the center. So there's quite a bit left to do on this one, but I got, you know, I got some distance with it here. But yeah, you can see, like, you know, there's multiple color changes in lots of these other little pieces. And so it takes a while. I concentrated on here. I got all of this done. And you do have to count. No, over here. I was thinking about this one. The counting of the dandelions, you do have to pay attention. This whole section I did. And no, over here. I keep going on the opposite ways. Plus then I was filling in a lot of other things as well. But you can't be watching Flosstube sometimes doing those dandelions, because otherwise you get in trouble. And this one will just come out when I feel like it. I've been kind of thinking about my projects and thinking about how I'm approaching them. And I'm finding I'm solidifying into an idea that I really like. So we'll talk about that in a bit, if I remember. All right, so this one here, this is my finish. This is March Cottage from Cottage Needleworks. And I only have April left now. I am so excited. These projects, these cottages were started in 2020. It's now 2025. It shouldn't take 5 years to stitch 12 of these small things. I think the repetitive nature of it was what got me. And so I think I just stopped for quite some time because of that. Now, I did change colors quite a bit on this. The darker green you see was my own choice. The lighter green was what was darker, I believe, on here. The house, I made this a bit brighter of a green. So all the greens are different. Everything else is the same. And then we talked about last week, or last time I showed this, there was a bit of a snafu with the bottom here. And so it is only one between this section and this section. And I actually really like it like that. I prefer it. So I'm not sure if I've done the April one yet. No, I haven't gotten that far, I don't believe. So I'm going to look at it and evaluate it, decide how I want to do that one. But that's where this is. This is done on 18 count Vintage Country Mocha. And I did use it for I Spy, which is a challenge that I do. Something squishy. Well, those little lambs feel like they'd be nice and squishy when they're fluffy and everything else if you gave them a nice big hug. So that's what I went with something squishy. Now I pulled out for June. So this is the June finished one. And this is how I've pretty much finished all of them, because I basically then just rotate them, take them out, and put them on my shelf each month. They get around the comic book board, and then I pick a coordinating color fabric. It goes under the comic book board, and it's just a leaner. So I just lean it up against. So that's what the June one looks like, if you're curious. And then I just pulled out, this had fallen actually, so I said, oh, well, I'll show this one. This is Resting Beach Face, and this is from Hands-On Design, which was so much fun. And I believe these sections might be stitched in, but I loved this blue so much that I decided I didn't want to cover that up that much, and so I just kept it like that. So that was one change I made with that. So those are my little previous full finishes there. Okay, so one more, April. All I have left, super exciting. I think, and April is started, maybe a third of the way done. So the goal is to get it done by the end of this year. That's doable. It's just a matter of pulling it out. I did one more I Spy prompt this month, and ironically, it is this next piece. I didn't plan it that way. This is Wings of Change from Silver Creek Samplers. And the prompt was a type of, what is it? A bug found on a picnic. And we have caterpillars and we have butterflies. Now, if you know me, I have no interest in being nitpicky or policing this challenge in any way, shape, or form. I am a huge proponent of creativity. And if you have to kind of take a path to find what it is that you stitch on for that prompt, I am always for it, and I will never nitpick. This was my own curiosity. I did not check this for any other reason because I was kind of curious. Is a butterfly a bug? Technically, it's not. It's something else. I can't remember now. My brain takes in the information and it doesn't always retain it right now. I'm at that point in life right now where I know it, but I didn't take the time to really dig into it. But I would count a butterfly a bug myself, and I am A-okay if that's what you use for the prompt. It was purely for my own curiosity, because I was like, I wonder if this is the case. But we also have the caterpillar, and I didn't check, but I'm pretty sure caterpillars would be, I think they're bugs. I don't know. I mean, I consider them bugs. But anyway, the long and the short of that is, if you participate, if you'd like to, don't ever worry about me saying that won't count, because it is your event. It is your stitching, and I just want you to get stitching done, to be frank. And if we have a little fun figuring these things out, I was always a puzzle person and a word game person and all that stuff. Like, I love puzzles. So these things kind of make me happy when I do them. But here we are. So this is 18 count Bell Bottom Blues from Hand Dyed by Rolanda. And I worked on some more words. Yay. And I kind of like it though. I made this second T very, very fluffy. He's not supposed to be that wide. And in the process, I had to kind of make sure then the E worked and everything else. So I have the word butter. I just have to finish off with fly. Did that, and then I did some more words down here. And then I started to do some of the black on the butterfly. I did pull my own variegated orange for that, but that was already stitched. I had stitched that one other time just to make sure I liked the color scheme. But I think I would like to do quite a bit of the outline of the butterfly, and then that would be easy to fill in. And then there's just some white speckles along the edges of the wings there. There is, no, I didn't. I thought I was planning on doing, there's a small leaf here that goes here, but then there's a ginormous leaf right here with a caterpillar, another one. And I wasn't in the mood for that. So I said, let's do some letters. I like Silver Creek letters. They usually go pretty easily, except when you make things too fluffy. So there's that one. This one comes out a lot for challenges, because I find that that's a lot of fun doing it that way. So that'll just keep happening. All right, this next one is a digital, and it's a portion of a digital. So let me go to there we go. It's a more recent start, if you remember. This is the entire piece. Delivery Series of Gnome is the name of it, from Sew to Stitch. And I am doing a hashtag Gnome Along with Katie, Jeremiah's mom. Hi, Katie. Hi, Jeremiah. And Karen, the Stitching Owl, has also been stitching gnomes with me. And, oh, Karen D. You know how we talk about Karen D? She has a Flosstube. We're so excited, Karen, that you have jumped into it. She is the Twitchy Stitcher. So I'm going to link her down below. She's done her very first Flosstube. If you like fancy ladies, oh my gosh, she has some beautiful, beautiful stitching, and she is a very lovely person to talk to on a Zoom. I've enjoyed getting to know you, Karen, quite a bit. All right. And now we can all get to know her through her Flosstube. This is the one I chose. So if you remember when I did the Pretzel Gnome, I took him out of a set of 3 from Sew to Stitch. And I haven't done a lot of Sew to Stitch, but I really enjoy her patterns. There's block stitching, and then there's color changes, but it's not crazy color changes. Do you know what I mean? So it's pretty enjoyable to stitch, and I like how she does kind of the shadings. And I'll show you with the hat, it really looks kind of cool, and that's where I focused on this week. This is just as you can see, it's a scrap, 18 count scrap of something. I don't know what. Last time I had all of this done, I have one more book, I believe. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 more books. Well, there goes that idea. I thought that was almost done. I have three more books here. But I thought, okay, let's get this hat in. I thought it'd be fun to do another color and some solid. Now, I was doing this while I was watching Flosstube. I can't remember who I was watching. And I completely muffed it up altogether. I think I had some of it in, but then over here by this, I put the blue in the wrong way. or I counted off something. So I had a whole section that had to come out. Having said that, this is actually 300 stitches at least. And then I did more after having pulled it out. So I didn't get what looks like a lot, but there was a good chunk of stitching on this one. But this, I did put it in, it goes into, there's a pattern keeper version from Sew to Stitch. It went in very easily, and it's so nice because I'm just separating this section and doing it and not worrying about the other parts of the piece. But so hopefully we'll get some more. I'd like to get this one finished and then sometime this summer. And I really like the gnome. They're all very cute, but you know me, how much I like drinking tea, so I thought this one would be fun with a teacup on, and I love reading. I love reading, although I found that the last decade or so, reading makes me sleepy. So let's hope that's another thing that kind of, unless it's like a book I'm totally into, like The Fourth Wings or something or other, but a lot of times it makes me sleepy. And so I have to be careful about that. Somebody once told me, she said that the same thing was happening to her, and I don't know, somebody had told her, well, don't read before bed because that would make you sleepy, and then, you know, if you're tired and trying to read, and then your brain kind of equates the two, then whenever you try to read, you start to get sleepy. So I've been trying that, trying to read first thing in the morning, like after breakfast or something or other. Okay, now my new start. Yay! I talked about this last week. I started this with Andrea. She reached out and said, would you like to stitch Strawberry Square at the same time? It's from Ink Circles. And I said, sure. I'd kind of forgotten I had it, to be honest with you. And I said, let's go for it. Now, I actually was very inspired by the color scheme here of that fabric color with kind of a floss, variegated kind of floss. And so I went through my fabrics, and I did find one that it's not, obviously it's not the called for. I don't think I ever do the called for, but it's very similar in some ways. This is called, so let me go back here for a second. That's probably better. It's a really lovely kind of, it's washing itself out. It's a slightly darker version than what you're seeing here. And I really like it. There's subtle shades of different colors in there and different kind of light and dark modeling, really. It's, what is it? It's 18 count Timeworn from Mystic Fabrics. So up here, this is completely washing it out. It's much deeper and kind of a richer color than that. But I wanted to show you my stitching. Now, again, let me pull it out. I chose a DMC variegated. The original was sulky, and I went through my sulkies variegated, and I did have this, which I could have done, but it was a little, it wasn't quite the color variations that I wanted. And I like sulky the few times I've stitched with it, but there's something about kind of that circular, I don't know, however it is not my most enjoyable. I actually prefer kind of the DMC to the sulky, but I'll use it. I have a whole bunch of it. It's fun when I've done it. I ended up picking 4210 from DMC. And this one, I am not as careful with the variegation as I was with the hot air balloon. I'm not caring about doing every X. I'm not worrying about lining everything up correctly. But I don't know if you can tell, but in real life you sure can. The variegation is coming up fine. And I'm not trying to do it in any way. It's whatever happens, happens kind of thing. Because I just think with the nature of this one, like it's a repetitive piece, right? There's no way I'm going to try to repeat things on a certain part of the design or anything like that. We're just going where the wind blows, so to speak. But Andrea, I'm really enjoying stitching this, so thank you for reaching out and asking me if I wanted to stitch it, knowing that you knew I had it, which was much better than me. I didn't remember I had it. And I do think I will try, as I talked about with Forest Goddess, I may give this one another week and do some more just to get a really solid start on it. Not that that isn't a solid start, I think. I think that's a pretty good start. But I think I might do a little bit more. So you may just see that one next week. Now, the one that you have been seeing every week is my hashtag whip into shape piece. That is my oldest open, oh gosh. There we go. The photo section wants to do like little movies now with your things, and I just want my picture. This is Christmas Town from Stitchrovia. And I started this, gosh, I don't think it was 2019. I believe it was 2020. It is my absolute oldest open project at this point from when I had started. My McChristmas gnome was actually restarted on something else. Otherwise, he would have been the oldest, but I changed up fabrics and stuff. This is where I am. So I'm using this for Andrew the Runner Stitcher's Whip into Shape. Let me write down Andrew. I want to say it was video. I watch Andrew and he says it. I want to say 45, but don't quote me on that. I cannot remember which video. He explained all of the challenge and how it worked to everybody. But basically, Andrew is running a marathon. We are stitching along with his training, whether you use his miles or his time and then kind of use it somehow or other for your stitching. I am taking what he runs every week in mileage, multiplying it by 10. So if he does 30 miles, that's 300 stitches that week. And we will continue to do this until he runs the marathon at the end of August. And I think, and it might work pretty close to when the marathon happens, but if I keep it up, I should have this piece completely finished just around the time he's running the marathon, which will be awesome because, again, it's 5 years old. It's time to get it finished. This is done on an 18 count opal. What's really neat is the opal does shine through some of my stitching, which is kind of cool. So when you're looking at it, things sparkle. I talked about this last week. I had originally thought I was going to keep all this unstitched to really let the opal shine. And then I realized it kind of just looked like I hadn't done it. So I am going back in and doing this a little bit at a time when I just want some white stitching and not really think about it. And then, but I want to spend a lot of time doing all of this because there's a ton of color changes. I love Stitchrovia, but man, she loves her color changes. So I did through, well, I definitely did through. I've been having fun in my challenge book. I've colored through the 8th of June. There's Andrew running. And depending on how many miles he runs or whether it's a rest day, depends on the color that I've colored in. I think I've done the 9th and the 10th as well. I have to go back and check my book. And then he's having a series of rest days while he's away this weekend. So I have to look to see if I do, I just have to color them in. If I can't figure it out, I'll just restitch them again because that's a win-win for me, right? That just means extra stitches on my piece. And I will continue. I don't do it every day because he puts up his mileage, what he's done every day. I don't do that just because it's not really worth pulling this out for 30 stitches when, you know, unless I was going to do some of that white or something. Otherwise, I just like to wait and do the whole thing. Okay, I need to get 270 stitches or whatever happens day it is. And then even if it's like maybe 2 days, think the 2 days I haven't done, it was 7 miles and 4 miles. So that'd be 110 stitches. That at least would be a nice little chunk to pull out for instead of just, 30. Which makes me think I did do those other days. You know, it helps when you mark things off. Let me see in my other book. Oh, they're not marked off. Well, maybe not then. Okay. This piece here, the week before I talked about how I had done a little of this, but I hadn't really done much. So I didn't want to show it to you until I had a little bit more done. It's going slowly, but that's okay. So this was a stitch along. It was the Empyrean Sal from Forbidden Fiber Co. And it was a mystery sal. Now, I think it's really cute. Having said that, I think I'm going to change some things. I don't know exactly what I'm going to change and how I'm going to change it. I like the colors. I'm not doing that. But some of the parts of it may end up looking different by the time I finish. But I am so far behind where it was. This is probably like week 2. Well, there's parts of like week 2 and 3, because I didn't even finish this first part. Was the pre-stitching, and then, you know, we got stitching from there. But this is where it is right now. This is 18 count Feathertail. So from Forbidden Fiber Co., I did end up getting the floss, the fabric, and then doing the pattern. And I finished up here at Basgiath War College. I worked on words, and then, so this section right here, this first line is completely done. I just have to, of words, I still have to just do that across. And then I didn't quite get the second line of words done. And then one day it's just stitching that across. And then I'm going to sit down and kind of think about how I want to approach the rest. Well, this dragon will go right here. I mean, the 2 dragons they're just flipped around. So, you know, what happened here, I will put here. So I have plenty of time to actually think about how I want to change things a little bit, because after I do the words, and I think under Basgiath War, yeah, Writer's Quadrant, I still have more words, and then I have the whole dragon and lightning to do yet. So plenty of time. It'll be about 3 years after that one's done before I have it finished. And the very last piece that I have, look at that, woo, I'm going a little faster today than last week, is Gentleman Quaker, and it is from Jardin Prive. I love the look of the Jardin Prive. I love the Quaker ones especially. There's just something about her Quaker pieces that I really like. I am not doing the alphabet, so go right here. That's what mine's going to look like. I think somebody asked me why. I plan on stitching this one too. And I mean, just stitching letters for the sake of stitching letters and then doing it twice just not my thing. And I think it's going to look really cool without them, to be honest with you. So I'm okay with it. And here I am. Now this one's a little bit of an experiment for me. This is being done on 18 count Benevolent Buttercup. I always have to say that slow because I never say it right. And it's from Those Missing Stitches. The reason why I chose a pretty neutral piece on this one is because I also would like to put the, what's the official name of it? My Lady's Quaker on here. And she's got more, it's pinks. I don't know if I'm going to do pinks, mauves, fuchsias, or purples. I don't know yet. So I wanted something that would encompass both sets of colors pretty nicely, like to show them off more than, you know, clashing with them. And I didn't want to have to worry about it because I would put these as a 2-page collection, probably in the scrapbook. So that's the first thing and the first choice I had to make. Then I decided to try stitching the black with, instead of say a 310 or even an anchor. Normally I love a good anchor black, but you know, now that DMC has bought them out and I don't think they're planning on making it anymore, I need to sometimes figure out what I'm going to do instead. And you know that I really do like Flosh from DMC. It's a one-stranded kind of thicker kind of cotton. And so I decided I wanted to try the Flosh with, this is, that's my variegated floss right now. Really nice and neat. I wanted to try it with, you know, the regular kind of stranded DMC floss, because I believe, isn't variegated floss just DMC dyed? I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just going to pretend it's the case. And this is Summer Sky from Classic Colorworks. I have a couple of skeins of it just in case. But this kind of thing, it wouldn't matter if I ran out, as long as, okay, maybe it wasn't the perfect match color-wise, because, you know, it's obviously different chunks of color here and there. As long as I didn't run out like mid-dog or something. But I wanted to see how the one strand of the Flosh went with the, I'm doing 2 strands. On 18 count, I am a huge fan of 2 strands of DMC. I know that's another question I get asked a lot. That is personal preference. I like the fluffy type of looks to it. I know that 1 strand is a little bit more prim, but I just like the filled in kind of fluffy look for me. So that's why I almost always, for a, I don't know when I would do 1 strand of DMC on 18 count. Sulky, I would do 1 strand. Obviously the Floche, I would do 1 strand, but I would never do a DMC or variegated 1 strand. But I really like it. I don't think you can tell. There is not a difference to my eye. Now my eyes are older, so take that into account. And I've worn glasses since the 4th grade, so, you know. But to my eyes, it looks the same thickness. That was the one thing I was a little concerned about. Would it look kind of weird? But it doesn't. So I'm really pleased with it. And so I will continue to use the Floche for the My Ladies Quaker as well. And then pick a variegated floss for that. But that's a long way off yet. I still have quite a bit of this to do. But it's fun because there's little bits and pieces. I am going to put Mo's initials up here, I believe. He has 2 M's in his initials, which are like the whitest letters, right? So I had to be difficult there. If it really doesn't fit, I'll just do the first and last name. But if I can, I'll do the 3. And then I might have to wait and move the little half Quaker over it a bit or 2 before I do the bigger one over here. We'll have to see. But I may just wait and work down the other direction for now. So that is my stitching. That's all I've stitched on this week. Yay! I had a good stitching week, I believe. I have been noticing now with the weather nicer, and I'm starting to be in a little less pain, so I am able to do a little bit more. I'm not at a point where I can just run around and do whatever I want, but I am slightly in less pain. So that means I'm feeling the call to like get out and do something, because I've spent 2 years in so much pain inside the house that it's nice to kind of feel like I'm breaking out and becoming a little bit freer, which means sometimes obviously less stitching, which is fine because I'm just, you know, trying to enjoy this part of my life and enjoying not hurting so as much. So it'll ebb and flow. And, you know, when it gets super hot, then it gets too hot to be outside in the middle of the day anyway. I don't like to be out in extreme sunshine in the middle of the day. So the summertime between 12 and 2, 12 and 3, whatever, I prefer to be out of the sun if I can, just for, you know, safety of my skin and so on and so forth. So that's always a good stitching time then if I have the chance to. So we'll see. It'll ebb and flow like anything else, right? All right, so plans. Today, like I said, is the 13th. I do think I am going to do Samhain and Salem as my piece this for the Halloween stitching. And I'd like to get somehow this week 500 stitches on that to get that moving along, because that is my second oldest. So I'd like to kind of see some work on that one. You will see Real Comfort from Modern Folk Embroidery next week. I really love the floss and fabric combo that I chose, kind of a tone on tone. Love it. So I'm really excited about that. I will probably do ink circles again this week a little bit with the Strawberry Square, and then just continue with challenges and games. In regards to my stitching, like I was thinking about it. So I have, you know, I have a handful, I don't know how many, whatever the number is, of the older pieces that, you know, you're seeing sporadically. But then I'm also starting a lot of things that are getting a good amount of work. And I'm starting and finishing things within, say, 3 months, while there are older ones that are not getting finished. And I'm okay with that. I was thinking about it, and, you know, if I don't like something, I will pull it out. And I have, over the last, whatever, couple years, not hung onto things that I just don't enjoy stitching, whether it's the fabric choice I made or the pattern has just changed style-wise. Some of them just go on kind of, I don't want to say in timeout, because that's not the right word. It's not like I'm not happy with them, but they're just kind of going on a vacation for a little while. And when they come out, maybe it'll be a year from now, maybe it'll be 3 years from now, I'm okay with that. If I still like it, then I'll go back to it. But I am not going to make myself go on something just because it's older if I want to take a break from it. If it's older and I would like to stitch on it, like Christmas Town, then that's how I'm doing it. So you will see older pieces, but they will be a bit more sporadic. And some of them you may not see at all this year. I'm letting go of some sort of idea that I have to touch them. And there's a few that I have that I think I want to restart or change or rechart smaller or something. So there's a bunch of those that are also in the mix as well. And then some of the ones that I start, you may see much more often. And that's just going to be the way it goes for now. And maybe next year it'll be different. But I'm just kind of going with enjoying the hobby and not steering myself in a, into a corner of having to do something. I'm on that lazy river, you know what I mean? And I'm just kind of taking it as it comes and really just enjoying it. So plans wise, I have some things that are kind of, like after this Samhain, I will work on Summer Quaker because I really like that rotation. But I'm just kind of letting it flow. And if I wanted to work on something, or it was set to be like the homework for the week, and I don't want to work on it, then I won't. We all have different ways of doing it. I know some of you really, really, really get stressed over the fact that I have like 80 whips and I just keep starting more and more projects. I'll probably start, I know I'm starting one. Real Comfort will get started. I'm starting another one next Thursday. Then I'm starting another one a few days after that. I'm okay with that. And if you would prefer only 3 whips, I think that's awesome. So just kind of go with what's your comfort level, and don't be stressed for me, because I'm not stressed at all in the least over how many I have. I'm really enjoying discovering the way and the path of how I should and how I want to stitch, not how I should stitch. So, all right, those are the plans such as they are. I like to call them goals, right? Not goals, suggested kind of suggestions more than anything else. They're not plans, they're not goals, they're just suggestions. All righty, I have my very first trading, I'm gonna make sure I'm covering up everybody's address. My very first trading card came in. So Vivianette, we got them. They came, yay. I do want to, one thing I want to show, just to be careful, and Vivianette, they're okay. So don't worry about that. But the post office likes to rip things sometimes. So this came like this. Now, luckily she had everything in a good section. So if you just put them in without kind of maybe putting them all, maybe wrapping them in a little bit of like, save like the tissue paper you get from things, or sometimes people will put them with a card, however works. But if you can keep them so that they're not like a single piece, because a single one could have easily slipped out of there. And I was a little worried, but Vivianette did tell me that she had sent 2 and I got 2. So we're good. They're here. And I like your little, I like your butterfly and washi tape on the back. So all sorts of, all sorts of great stuff there. But I did really like how last time around, when they come in, I will say your name that they came in. That way, I've received them and can keep track of it, because I don't know when they're shipped. I don't know who's giving me what. And this way, I think it's just a good way to kind of, to let you know that they are now in my hands. And then we go from there. All right, shopping. I surprisingly made it to Friday Night Fight Night. What's funny, because somebody had told me about it. I don't know if it was in the comments or where. And I was kind of like, oh, well, I never remember. And to be honest, I didn't. They start on 10 o'clock my time on whatever Friday night is designated from Bestitch Me on Facebook. And 95% of the time, I'm either, well, I don't go to sleep at 10 anymore. At one point I was. It's a little closer to 11 now. But I'm usually just not thinking about it and, whatever. And for some reason, I was still awake and I was still looking. For some reason, I looked at Facebook at like 10:30, which I don't generally do before bed. I have my little before bed routine to wind down. But I looked and I had seen that it was posted, which, I was like, oh yeah, it's Friday Night Fight Nights. I said, just for giggles, I'm going to go over there and see if there's anything left. And there were a few pieces left. And this is some of the best opals I've gotten are from Brandy are usually the Friday night fight nights. I saw this one. I said, I'm going to give it a try. It's really kind of pretty. It is amazing in person is all I'm going to say. So I ended up getting an 18 count opal. It's called Wildfire. Wildfire. Look at this. Look at this color. So that's amazing as it is. Yes, it's modeled. No, it's not that stark. It's blended better than that. But this is an amazing opal. I don't know if that's even showing up with the shine. So remember how I told you about that other orange that I had gotten from the from Be Stitch Me from the Ready to Ships? And I said, oh, once I've done with Segale, I wanted to do Terran Dragon Stitch. I'll do it on that. This I think, this has to be Terran. Has to be. With the opal and the shiny and all these different colors. Oh my gosh. Because I would stitch it in a darker color, obviously, given Terran's coloring. So I think it would look amazing. But yeah, if you want an incredible kind of fabric color, now this is 18 count, remember, for something that, you know, if you're stitching some sort of phoenix, or isn't there a Mirabilia? That's kind of, I don't know if the colors would match too much, but Wildfire from Be Stitch Me opal is amazing too. It looks so cool as an opal. I don't buy a lot of opals, but I do like them, and I really do enjoy stitching on them. Now, I did buy a digital pattern, and I'm blaming Sarah from Sew Me Sarah. Sarah, it is all your fault. I've bought one, and I have another one that I wanted to buy. It's on my list to buy. And if anybody wants to stitch it with me, then let me know, and we'll start it. Let me go to my pictures. But the one I did buy, so Sarah's latest video, she talked about Cotton and Twine, their newest box. I've done boxes a time or two. I did the Empyrean and I did one other, but I'm not really a box person, so I wouldn't do that. But she got me looking at Cotton and Twine, and I went to their site, and there was this one right here. It's called, oh, I don't know what it's called. I'm calling it Sandy Toes Salty Kisses. Isn't that so cool? So if you would like to stitch that with me, I'm going to start that this summer sometime. And if you don't, that's okay. I'm going to stitch it anyway. But thank you, Sarah, for, now I've got Cotton and Twine. But wait, right? Remember the ads? But wait, there's more. I haven't bought this one yet, but I went to Love Poppet because then Sarah showed Love Poppet. Thank you so much. My wallet does not like you, Sarah. I love your stitching. My wallet doesn't like you. And I saw this cute little octopus. I think it's called like Octopus Bubble or Bubble Octopus. I don't know. It is the cutest. So this is on my, it's on my wish list at Etsy. So I want to buy that one. And of course there's like 6 more in my potential. Ooh, I was like, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that. I've never stitched any Love Poppet. So if you want to stitch an octopus with me, let me know. I'm sure that's going to be added to cart soon enough. But so I bought one. I bought the Cotton and Twine. But Sarah, you got me almost with the Love Poppet too. Well, I will. It's only a matter of time. So I'm going to say thank you, slightly sarcastically, but mostly thank you. You're always a joy to watch, even if you are enabling me to buy some more stuff. Alrighty, so that's it. That's the stitching. That's all I've got. That's all I've ordered. Yeah. So if you don't want to hear about life stuff, don't care, whatever, then I hope you have a wonderful week and enjoy your stitching, and I'll see you next time. All right, so life stuff. What's been going on? Fairly quiet. For TV, I talked about sometimes TV and books and things like that. I was just about ready to finish up, and so I did finish the most current season of Brokenwood Mysteries. That's on Acorn. And Death in Paradise, which is on BritBox. I love Acorn and BritBox. They're 2 of my favorite streaming, and they don't show commercials. Knock on wood that they don't start. it's so, I really enjoy their stuff. So both of those were the most current season. Both shows have something like 11 seasons. Death in Paradise might be more even. So if you've not watched either one of them, they're both kind of, I would classify both of them as kind of cozy mysteries. Brokenwood Mysteries is, I want to say New Zealand, and that's quirkier. The characters are very quirky, but in a fun way, and it gets carried over from season to season. So I would watch from the beginning, because a lot of the recurrent characters you see were kind of embroiled in mysteries earlier on in the seasons. So, and usually there's only about 5 or 6 episodes per season of that one, but they are longer episodes. I want to say like an hour and a half. And then Death in Paradise, that is definitely what a cozy mystery one, and that takes place in the Caribbean. And it is really fun. And it's funny because over the set of seasons, they've changed the main character, the police detective in charge. This might be the 5th one. 1, 2, Humphrey, Jack, Nigel. Yeah, I think this is the 5th one. And I wasn't really sure about him. I've liked all the other ones. His character was a little too rude, for want of a better word, but he kind of grew on me, to be honest with you. And so by the end, I actually really liked him. And he's the one coming back, I think there's another season coming back next time around. So I'm still in. I'm all in watching that. So they're 2 very, kind of fun little cozy mystery kind of shows if you're looking for something. Death in Paradise is lighter most of the time than Brokenwood, but they're both nothing nitty gritty or anything like that. Mo and I are still, we're behind on Top Chef Canada, so we are worried, which is the current Top Chef season. I think the finale might have just come out. So don't tell me who won. We still have like 5 people left in the competition. So we're trying to work our way through that so that we don't get spoiled. Although if I find out, it's not the end of the world, but don't tell me. We're books. So this was interesting. Last week I didn't get to it because I had talked so much about my stitching. I talked about the Thursday Murder Club book, but I didn't talk about this one. This is a new author for me. I've not read anything else from her. This book was, and I listened to it, but I thought the audio narrator did a good job. So I wouldn't say don't listen to it. Either way I think would be fine. It's called Shield of Sparrows, and it's by Devney Perry, and that's what the cover looks like. And what's really interesting, and if you've read it, I would be really, really interested on your take. I would probably give it a 3. And that's because, and I don't know if it's just, I was a little fed up with the main character. She was kind of immature. If she said, "I hate you" one more time in that, but she doesn't really, it's like the temper tantrum, "I hate you because you," I've been reading books for a long time, and that feels very like 80s and 90s kind of, I don't know, "I hate you" kind of thing. And it was kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. So I waffled whether or not I liked her or not. However, I continued to listen to it, and it'd be funny because I'd be like, it drew me in right away, the book. So there was that, like I was into and engaged in the story right away. Then there was this, I think just for my reading purposes, it was slightly too long. I think for me, if 100 pages, say, had been cut out of it, because it was a long book, I want to say it's probably like, I don't remember if it was 17 hours. I don't remember how much it was audio-wise, but obviously that's a good-sized book. And I feel like we were kind of treading water for a while, and she might be world building, and so it may make more sense. When you look at it, it said that this was only 1 book, but there is no way she wrote that to be only 1 book. The ending is as big a cliffhanger as you will ever find. I mean, it's just so many different things were into your face, like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? Oh my gosh, now where is it going? So was it my favorite? No. But I think part of it just could be my interpretation of the character, the main character, the female main character. And I'd be really curious what your take is on her if you've read it. And again, I feel like maybe it was a little too much in the middle of the book that we could have cut out about 100 pages or so. But again, I'd be really curious in your opinion. But with all of that said, if indeed a second book is written, which if it isn't, then shame on you for giving me such a cliffhanger. I would definitely read it because I'm curious to see where the story goes. Sometimes for me, I may not love a book, but I'm curious about the story, and it's enough to kind of say, I definitely want to at least see where it goes, type of thing. So I'd be super curious. I would say, look at the storyline, and see if it's a storyline. It's definitely along the fantasy lines, genre, so to speak. Language, I will say, oh yes, I do like to. They do like to use the F word. So if that is something you prefer not to read, this may not be the book for you. In some cases, I can see where it's used. Like in some cases, maybe they didn't need it, but they do like to swear quite a bit. In regards to spice, if you rate it 1 to 5, it's hard because my rating of 1 might be different than your rating of 1 versus my rating of 5 might be different than yours. I would say it's not as spicy as Fourth Wing. So if you've read those, and if you're using that as your guide, it's definitely not as. It's kind of one of those considered a slow burn. So not much happens in that sense until near the end of the book. And I would definitely put it on the lower side of spice than on the higher side of spice. But again, everybody's opinion on that, you got to take with a grain of salt. Maybe a 2 out of 5, I would say, if I was rating it for spice. But if I was giving stars, I'd say a solid 3. I'm willing to give it. I'm willing to. She better write a second one because you can't just leave it like that. But anyway, super curious if you decide that you do want to read it. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know specifically like the length, the world building, the main female character, what your thoughts were on all of that, because I'd be really interested to know. I started to listen to a new book. It's on my phone, so I can't tell you. It really sounds good. It's just more of like a fictional, maybe summer fictional piece. But it just jumped to, it's going to jump into 2 different time periods, like current day and then I think 1950s. Sometimes when I listen to those, I have a lot of trouble keeping everything straight. So I'm thinking I might try to get that book from the library and physically read it, because those types of books, sometimes I need to jump back or look back, or I don't know, there's something about reading it just with my eyes that I do much better with kind of time changing than I do with listening. So I'll get that from the library. I'd like to read it. And so far, the modern day part I was enjoying. So we'll see what happens from there. I'll let you know if I get more into it. And yeah, other than that, it's so funny. During the weekends, it's been kind of rainy, and then it's nice during the week, right? So, great if you don't have to work, like, whoa. So for example, last night we went to the beach after dinner. I mentioned that before. Yesterday was in the 90s. It was very, kind of sun was hot and muggy. But we went, we were at the beach maybe at like 6:30. It was beautiful. Yeah, there was a warm breeze. There was a breeze, but it was a warm breeze, but it wasn't hot. A couple nights before that, we went downtown to the boardwalk area, actually got a little ice cream, and just kind of, if you saw my Instagram, the sun was setting. We kind of just people watched, because, you can just sit on the benches on the boardwalk and do that. And we stayed till the sun was setting, and I got a pretty picture out of the deal. So we've been to the beach a couple times at night, just kind of enjoying that while the weather's nice. Tonight, it's sunny right now, but apparently later, early evening into the night, the rain's coming and it's stalling. I think we're supposed to have a rainy weekend, so poor Mo. Again, the sunshine is during the week, so like, you're just gonna have to change your work days. Work on the weekend, take a couple weekdays off, and then you get some sunshine. So that's about it there. I have physical therapy coming up this week. It ebbs and flows. The rain is interesting because the rain does, I'm sure many of you who experience things like arthritis or whatever, the rain makes you feel crummy sometimes, and I definitely feel that. I think it's the change in barometric pressure, whether it goes up or down or changes. Somebody told me it's the actual change, not whether it's up or down. So I've been feeling that off and on as the weather kind of changes, and we keep getting rain and then sun and then rain and then sun, and everything's all wild. So we'll see. We'll see what that means for the weekend. Other than that, yeah, nothing exciting. But I hope you were well. I hope you were safe. Take care of yourself. And as always, remember that each and every one of you matter just as you are. You are important. Every single one of us is important. We all matter. And don't change who you are to please somebody else. You are just deep down beautiful just as you are. All right. Until next time, happy stitching.